So, how long did you spend in the hospital?
My time in the hospital was amazing. I decided because of this fishing experience, I decided I'm going back to school. July is when I lost my arm, and he said, if you do, you'll be the quickest amputee to ever leave Walter Reed.
So you ended up in Baghdad with just the one. What was actually going through your mind at that sort of time? I mean, you said that your military career was effectively over.
While I was in the hospital, I took advantage of some of the nonprofits because all of these individuals were really wanting to help get soldiers, back in the fight or back into an active lifestyle. And so I ran the Army 10 miler in Washington D.C. because there's a lot at stake. When you're talking to a lot of people, there's a lot at stake because if you botch it, the word's going to get out. Oh my gosh, that guy was horrible.
Button. Boom, I'm in the room. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Now, you're here because there's nothing on the telly, and I'm here because I can. Now, I'm coming to you from the old Heale Manor, and I'm your host, Lord Heale. Now, today, we have got a guest on, and we're going to be looking at resilience. Now, you know what this is all about. It's all about mental health, taking the stigma out of it, and and I'm still looking for guests, so I've got one today. He's a veteran. So without too much further ado, I'll drag him in. Front and centre, sir. Rich, good afternoon, or should I say Captain, sir?
That's right, Lord Heale. I guess I should be saluting you, huh?
Rich, you've got a bit of a story to tell us, haven't you?
A little bit. I've had a journey, had quite the journey.
Yeah, and it's quite a journey. I mean, we had a little tiny chat beforehand, and or just one hand actually, but we'll come on to that.
That's right.
Now you can get that because he's military and he gets the black humour. So,
That's
Rich,
right.
if you can give us a few minutes to tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what happened, and then I'll come in and we'll have a bit of a chat and we'll drag out some of the salient points and talk about the resilience that you sort of gone through and what you push is amazing. So the platform or the parade square is yours.
All right. Thank you. So I was in college when 9/11 happened, when the planes hit the World Trade Center, and shortly thereafter, I signed up for the military, and my unit got orders to deploy to Iraq. So this was in 2005, and and I truly found my purpose in the military in a combat arms unit. And just to kind of put it clearly, you and I were discussing this prior. This was an area known as the Triangle of Death. So my second day there, we were mortared, and that was the first time that I'd seen death and blood that way. And then 3 months later, I'm on a patrol. I'm the rear gunner in a Humvee, and my vehicle strikes a roadside bomb. I had played over how I engaged with the enemy, and I was trained for it. I was ready for the fight, and I was not envisioning it happening that way. And so the roadside bomb hit my vehicle, catapulted the vehicle in the air, and sent me flying through the air. And I remember the only thing I could say to myself was lights out, say a prayer. And when I landed, I couldn't believe I was alive. And when I looked up, I saw my driver now in the passenger seat of the Humvee, and he was unconscious. So I moved to go help him. And that's when I felt what I thought was a break in my arm. And when I tried to feel for that break, my hand just hit nothing. And I looked down, and my arm was lying on the ground, hanging on by something no bigger than a piece of flesh. So I had to pick it up and run with it. And fortunately, my driver, became conscious, and he put a tourniquet on, and medevac chopper came and took me to Baghdad. And you know, the rest I think we can talk about here shortly. But I remember waking up on the gurney, being wheeled into a hospital room after the surgery, and I saw my limb wrapped in bandages, and I tried not to cry. And it was, I saw everything that I had identified with in my life crashing down at once, because all I knew was how to be a soldier. I relied on my physical prowess to take me for, a career, spend my life in combat arms. And all of that had ended abruptly. So that's the series of those events.
Yeah, I mean, that's one way to do it. Not the best way to do it, but I mean, obviously you picked up your arm. Were they not able to save it? Quite often they're able to sort of save a limb and then stitch it back on, and you get sort of limited use from it. Was that not the case?
Now, one of the physicians had to call me because they wanted to use my case in a study that they were doing on amputees. So he had to get my permission. And I asked him that. I was like, man, could y'all not save my arm? And he told me it was too mangled. He said that the nerves were too severed, and so yeah, they couldn't save it.
Hmm. So what actually severed the arm off? Was it the sort of vehicle landing on you, or do you know what
So
was
so we
what
don't
did it?
they don't really know. The driver, the vehicle that was in front of me, said he saw the blast, and I mean it raised the vehicle in the air. And because I'm a gunner, so I mean my chest and my arms are out of the
Hmm.
vehicle in the turret. Because this is back before we had the mine resistant ambush protected vehicles. These are just Humvees.
Yeah,
So we don't know. It could likely be that the vehicle rolled over and crushed me, or the bomb. The end result was the same.
yeah. So you ended up in Baghdad with just the one arm. What was actually going through your mind at that sort of time? I mean, you said that your military career was effectively over, but it wasn't, was it?
So it wasn't, but I had no idea that it wasn't. And my entire childhood, I was like a um just like a star exploding. I had no direction, but I had all this energy with no purpose. And that's why this was so impactful to me, because I found that purpose in being a soldier. So when I saw my arm, I mean, I saw all of that. What am I going to do now? I had no idea. And what's interesting is when I got the Walter Reed in Washington D.C. and 2 days later, my mom was waiting for me in the hospital room. She had my fly fishing rod, and of course I'm like, what am I gonna do with this fly fishing rod? I have one hand, and
Were you
and my cousin,
left-handed or right-handed?
I was right handed.
Oh, so at least you
Thankfully,
could cast the thing.
well, so that was I could, but I couldn't, because I couldn't figure out how to control the line, and then you have to strip line. So my
Yeah.
cousin took me on the front lawn, and I have my limb is in bandages. Connected to all these IV tubes on an IV tree, and so he hands me the flower. He's like, "Let's try this," and I mean I was brought to tears, because it was another thing that I had identified with that had been taken away. And Lawrence just said, "We're going to keep at it." So I kept at it. And I kept at it. And I realized I could use my teeth to strip line, and I could cast, letting the line come out from my two fingers. And that's when I remember looking at my arm like, man, that, this is nothing. I can keep moving forward here. And so that's when my mindset really started to shift through that experience. And my mom had no idea that I would have that experience. She just didn't know what else to do. And
Hmm.
so I'm grateful for that but that is where my mindset really started to shift into what am I going to do now to keep moving forward.
Yeah. I think there's two different mindsets there, isn't there? There's a mindset of my life's over. I just need to sit and feel pity of myself. Or there's the other, I can still do this stuff. I can
That
adapt and overcome, and I can make it work. So
that's exactly
so
right.
that's the
Yeah.
mindset I guess that you've got into.
That's exactly right. And I when I was at the hospital, I ran into a wounded soldier who, in that mortar attack I was just talking about, he was one of the casualties from it. And he was like, "Oh man, hey, I heard you got injured. I'm sorry. You're gonna love it here. All we do is sit out front, drink beer, take our pills." And it was like we gave one of the pills to a squirrel the other day. Oh, I just laid there for 3 days. And I can remember thinking, even at a young age, at 21, where beer drinking is a big deal to you, I do not want that to be me. And this was a good guy. He really
Yeah.
was, but I think he had not transitioned into the other mindset yet.
Hmm. And I guess you can sit in that mindset of just letting the world go past, or you can go and grab it with the one hand and adapt to what you can do as opposed to what you can't do. So,
Yeah, exactly.
what rank were you when this happened then?
So I was an E4 specialist at the time.
Okay. So, how long did you spend in the hospital? And did they fit you with a prosthetic?
It did. So I have multiple prosthetics. My time in the hospital was amazing. Um, I I decided, because of this fishing experience, decided I'm going back to school. I mean, I took it and ran with it. And so I asked my doctor. I said, "Hey doc, do you think I can get out of here? Because July is when I lost my arm. Do you think I can get out of here to be back at school in January?" And he said, "If you do, you'll be the quickest amputee to ever leave Walter Reed." And I'm like, "Y'all are keeping tabs on that? Okay, this is a competition." And so I spent every day in the ortho clinic doing all of my procedures, timing myself to make sure I was getting better, and really just took advantage of all the resources that they had for us. So I did. I left in December. So I think probably about 4 months, a little over 4 months, and then I went back
Did
home.
you have
So
any money on it?
did I have any money?
Yeah, did you have any money on it? Did you have a bet?
Oh man, we should have. We should have. I would have gotten out of there in October.
So, so I would have paid you for your college fees.
That's right. That's right. Yeah,
So, so you managed to get out at Christmas with a few prosthetic arms,
that's right.
or is it,
So,
just the one with adaptable hands and clamps and all that sort of thing?
no, so I really use the body powered arm, which is mechanical. There's a looks like a figure eight strap that your residual
Oh, it
limb
goes over
goes
the,
through, and this other,
yeah,
right, and you can open it by put applying pressure with the other strap to your scapula, and so it will
yeah.
hook open. And I do have a myoelectric arm as well, but my residual limb is so small that there's not really that much room to make it impactful use for me. And so I love the body power, and then I really just use it for cycling, fishing, and things, lifting weights and stuff like that. I don't
Hmm.
wear it all for day to day stuff.
So, one question: did you get the Purple Heart
I did get the Purple Heart. So
along with
um,
the Iraq Medal?
that's right. Yeah, they gave me that and a license plate for
Wow.
free. But
So, what happened after you left the hospital then with your new arms?
So I was very fortunate while I was in the hospital. I took advantage of some of the nonprofits because all of these individuals really wanting to help get soldiers, back in the fight or back into an active lifestyle. And so I ran the Army 10 miler in Washington D.C. and I didn't do poorly, but a guy saw that I ran it at whatever time. He's like, "Hey man, you ran pretty well. Do you want to be on my triathlon team?" And I remember saying to him, I didn't really know what a triathlon was. I knew that it was three because I took Latin in fourth grade. Uh, but I told him, I was like, "Look, man, riding a bike is something you do when you're 12 to your buddy's house, and swimming. I'm like, I'm gonna swim in circles, but I'm in." And that was really, that decision was what catapulted my rehabilitative journey in a positive manner. And what really, because you have to, it's time consuming. Triathlon is time consuming. That's why I still run ultra marathon now. So
Yeah.
you were always doing something that is very challenging with an ambitious target that you're trying to reach. So, I mean, a lot of these days were 2-a-days and stuff like that. So I started doing that while I was in the hospital. And then when I got back to school, I was fortunate enough to find a great social circle of athletes. And we actually started a triathlon club at our university. And, and that was the catalyst for my rehabilitation, and which subsequently led me to say, hey, if I'm competing in these events with folks with two arms, why can't I go back in the military? And so
Ah.
that's what really set the stage for me to start fighting back, to say, I'm not letting you guys write my story. I'm going back in. I had a dream of being an officer. I'm gonna keep going after it.
So what were you studying at college then?
Finance is I was always good with numbers, so it came easy, and I did more military stuff than I did school stuff, so it worked out for me. Um,
So the triathlons then. So that's like obviously three different events. So you start off with a swim,
right.
and then a bit of a bike ride, and then a little jog along to finish off.
Finish it up
Is that
with a
it?
run. That's right. Yeah.
So what's the ultra then? What's the ultra marathon stuff? That's the 100
So
milers, is it?
technically, it's anything that's over marathon. So anything that's greater than 26.2 miles. I have a 100 miler coming up in August. It's in a place called Leadville in Colorado, and so that takes up a lot of my time, but I I need it for that's how I maintain what I call my emotional threshold, my emotional stability, and that's how I can continue to show up positively and
Hmm.
resiliently posture. So I fill my time training as much as I can.
So how do you go about training for an ultra marathon that's 100 miles long? I mean, because 100 miles, how long is that going to take you? 36 hours?
Now, they cut you off at 30 for this one.
Oh,
So
right.
and it depends on your terrain, right? I mean, some of them are flat loops. This one is in, so Leadville is known to be the highest populated city in America. So I think the city's it's either at 10,000 or 11,000 feet. So that's where I'm going out there 3 weeks before to acclimatize to the altitude. And I did a
Yeah.
50
Because
miler out there
cause,
last.
cause
Yeah.
that'll break you. The
Oh,
altitude
brutal,
alone will get you
brutal.
breathing fairly heavy. Brutal. Do you
Yeah,
carry
it's just
oxygen with
brutal.
you?
No, I tried to stay away from the canisters, but by going out there last year, I went out there 2 weeks prior, and I was relatively, I didn't have any issues during the run. So this year I'll do the same thing. It was a 50 miler last year that I had to do to
Hmm.
qualify for the 100 miler. But yeah, it's a lot of running, running and
Sure.
and strength training.
Run, Forest, run.
That's it. Just keep moving forward.
Yeah. Every race starts with the first step.
That's it.
So, how did you get back into the military? How did they let you back in? Obviously, you wouldn't be allowed to go back into a combat role, or did they?
I did. I did. And what's very interesting is so everything just aligned for me. You call it luck, you call it higher power, whatever. But I was requested to be an intern for a state senator in the state of Georgia. And so I went to Atlanta and I interned for a guy named John Douglas. And he asked me at some point, so what are you going to do after college? I said, well, sir, I'd like to go back into the military and be an officer. Next thing I know, I'm in Washington, D.C. with him sitting in front of one of President Bush's generals on his staff. And the guy said, look, we love you. Resubmit your paperwork. And so I rejoined ROTC. I started going through all the motions. I didn't find out I was going to commission as an officer until the day before I graduated and commissioned. My buddy who asked me to be on his triathlon team, if you remember, calls me up and he said, Rich, why didn't you tell me this is what you're doing? I'm aide de camp to the general that has to sign your waiver to get back in. And I mean, I get chills even saying it now. Like, how does that happen? And not that he could put the general's signature on there, but he could vouch for me and everything. And I had done well,
Point the general in the right direction.
Yeah, that's right. And fortunately, I had not lost because of the triathlon and in my physical prowess. I could still do all the same things. I mean, matter of fact, I held a record for a little bit at Ranger Challenge. I did 134 push-ups in 2 minutes, and so
one-handed ones.
I have a prosthetic. So with a prosthetic that has a little rubber mushroom on it.
Yeah.
And so I'm not doing Rocky style with just one hand, but it's but that's how it ended up happening. So now I went on to be an engineer officer. And so my first tour as an officer was back in Iraq, and I was a combat engineer platoon leader. And so we're doing
Did you go through West Point then?
I didn't. So I went to the University of North Georgia, which is, a lot of people never heard of it, but it's actually one of 6 senior military colleges in the country, and it's the largest Army ROTC program in the United States. So,
all right.
But we also have civilians as well, so we're kind of like just a lot of us.
So you've passed out. You got commissioned as a captain or a lieutenant.
Commissioned as a second lieutenant.
Yeah, as a combat engineer. Now, I guess as an officer, my experience with officers, they don't actually get their hands dirty, but they direct the traffic of what's that to be done. So you didn't have to get sort of down and dirty with a shovel and dig trenches and all that for the lads. But you got people to do it for you.
Well, it depended. It depends. I mean, that's just like any leadership role. I think there's a time and a place where you do need to get your hands dirty, and you need to motivate your people, and they need to know, if you're down there with them, hey, this is important. So when you have something that's impactful that you need to drive, you need to get out there and go with them. I will say, in my 4th deployment, so my 3rd as an officer, I was a captain in Afghanistan, and I ended up, anytime, instead, when you come up on whether it's a cache of weapons or an IED, you're supposed to wait for the ordnance guys to come out there and do whatever those guys would take 4 hours. And so I said, I'm done with this. This is too much time. So I started laying explosives on it and just blowing it up. And they got pretty ticked off because they want to take it back and analyze it and all this stuff. But one of the infantry battalions,
that kind of stuff is fairly important, because to get the intelligence on it, it helps sort of save lives, really. So
and I agree. Not saying it was the right thing to do, but
but they should be a bit quicker to get it out. I mean, they brought it upon themselves, as far as I can see. I mean, the EOD guys, if they ain't quick enough, then the longer you stay in one place on the ground, it's pretty dodgy.
Yeah,
especially
we were running
if you're
into.
in hostile area and they've been planting stuff anyway.
Oh, right. Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
I mean, but we finally got a unit. The brigade commander attached an EOD detachment to us, so that ended up being the end of my fun. But it is what it is. I was there to be an engine. I was there to build the road and help the Afghans build the road. So
Yeah.
it was a good time.
So after your first one where you got lost your arm, you did 3 further deployments then.
That's right. So 2 in Iraq, and then my last one in Afghanistan.
Mm. How was Afghanistan?
Loved it. Loved it. I can't remember the poet's name, but he said that it's in northern Afghanistan. It's the most beautiful place that he's ever been. And the people, the soldiers actually cared. When we trained them, they wanted to do the right thing, and they had some really squared away guys. They really
Yeah.
did. And I feel bad for the people because they have 2 choices. You either go work for the government or you go work for the Taliban.
Yeah.
That's it. And so if
You don't
all
get
you've
too
ever
much
known
choice there.
and so if all you've ever known is an area is the Taliban, who by the way, they might be providing food or money, and you have never had any kind of external presence. Where do you think they're going to go? So, there's a lot of
Yeah.
externalities there that sometimes are overlooked, and we just say, "Oh, terrorists." Well, you do a
Yeah.
deeper
Not.
dive into that.
It's not as black and white as people think. I mean,
Right.
I did 3 tours in Afghanistan and loved them. I loved every one of them. I really enjoyed the country. I know it's difficult. I mean, it's a harsh environment, and I
Right.
got to know an awful lot of the people. And that's my main role, was working with people in psyops,
Right.
is understanding their mentality, trying to find ways of pretty much hearts and minds. So you have to understand the people to be able to
Right.
have an influence on their attitude and behaviour. And yeah, I've got a lot of time for
Yes.
Afghans.
Yes. You understand it more than anyone
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, it's a great place. I miss it, honestly.
yeah, I mean, I really feel sorry for the girls there. I mean, they had 20 years of us there, fair amount of
Yeah.
stability, able to go to school and all the rest of it, and then we just left them in the lurch. I feel really, really bad about that. Um, and it's the girls that really suffer out there. Um,
They do. No, they can't be educated. They can't,
yeah, I mean, that's
yeah.
that's, I mean, that's the problem that they've got now, is that lots and lots of these girls have had an education. And I mean, you see, there were some. It's gone off the news now, but there were some rebelling against it and ditching the burqa and all the rest of it. And I think that didn't end well for them. Certainly, from what I saw, um, yeah, it didn't end well.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it's
I
a
mean,
different
there's
world.
nothing we can do about it, and that's the real rub of it. We can't do anything about it now. It's too late.
Yeah.
So, bit more then. So you're a captain. You've done your 4th tour.
That's right. Yeah.
What did you do when you got back? Are you still in the military?
So I'm not. I got out in 2013. So I tore my hamstring, and I finally said, okay, I have a messed up leg, a messed up arm, and I'm not even 30 years old. I'm done. Um, and so yeah, I got out after that last deployment. It was really difficult though, very very tough. Um, I did not transition well at all. I came from having complete autonomy on a battlefield, and you know how it is. You come home, and I mean, I could have put C4 or anything wherever I wanted. If someone
Mm,
got killed, you just hand them a shovel. And coming back
yeah,
home to the States was really no transition. It was hard on
Did you not have a resettlement package that you go through? I mean, when we leave the British military, um, once you've done, I think you have to do over 4 years. You get what you call a transition package, resettlement package, and you're entitled to a few bits and pieces to try and ease you back into civilian life. Did
So
they do that for you?
for us, after each deployment, you're supposed to go through. I forgot what they called it, but you're supposed to go through a transition
Decompression.
period. Right, exactly, and to integrate back in slowly. And I didn't have that. And whether it would have worked or not, I don't know. But I was sent back a little bit early to go to an education course, and that's why I was in fifth gear. Now I walk in and there's a female in tennis shoes and her uniform, and we didn't have females, and so I'm just saying, oh my gosh, what did I get myself into? And it was just, it wasn't. It's not like it's the female's fault. She hurt her ankle or something like that, but it's just I was in fifth gear. I had certain expectations of everything continuing at 100 miles an hour. That's not
Yeah.
the reality. Um, which I soon learned. So, I mean, I was sent to anger management courses by the commander. And, I mean, it takes its toll.
Yeah, it does. So bring us a bit more up to date then. So you
So,
got through all of that. You retired from the military. Your transition and your decompression was a bit lacking, shall we say? And
to say
so
the
where did
least.
that take you? I mean, you're still obviously resilient. You can you've got a great mindset.
So, I think
Where are
what
you now?
there were some turning points for me still. It still took me, uh, I'd say, at least 5 more years after I got out the second time to really figure things out. Because when I got out, I had a great job in a Fortune 500 company, corporation, and I put everything I had into it. But I was still just kind of lost. I didn't know what to do, and what really put me back into, or made me realize what I was lacking, was my kids and my family. When I started a family, because I was kind of falling back into these habits. Because now an injured leg that, oh my gosh, now like I was really scared to get back into running. And but my youngest daughter called the couch my bed, probably about 4 years ago, and I said, this is it. And like the flip of a switch, I got back on the horse. and
Yeah,
um and so, that's where I'm at now. Not too long ago, so after I was working for the corporation, um and started my family, my wife's like, you're working too much for a flat salary. You got to do something so you can make a little more money. So I started an insurance agency, selling just regular property, casualty, home, auto, flood insurance, and realized after 5 years of that I'd rather cut off my right hand than continue doing that. You know, so you're coming from combat arms to insurance. It just it
yeah.
did something went clicking. So I sold
Not a
it
lot of future in it.
profitably. Oh my gosh! I mean, but I sold it at a profit. I learned a lot of great things, and then I followed my passion of motivating other people. Took took courses on professional speaking classes, acting classes to get the message to make it more impactful. And so that's where I'm at now. I truly believe that there is a certain framework where everyone everyone just needs battle drills to get
Yeah,
through these, I call them fits. I mean, you call them whatever you want. I hate labeling things, but anxiety strikes us all. We think we're not cut out for this, or what are we doing? We've bitten off more than we can chew. And I have a battle drill that I execute, to try and, I mean, it works for me. That helps me get out of that. And so those are the little things that I try and do. And the ultra running now is just another way that I resiliently posture myself to remember who I am and why I'm here. And so, that's where I'm at now. I love motivating people, and I love the fitness aspect, because the fitness aspect alone motivates people. Like, oh man, that
Yeah,
guy hasn't
you
given
get
up.
you get them endorphins kicking in, and you can't leave it alone.
Yeah, and you got to have it. It's the best fix you can get. It's free.
So this speaking malarkey then, is it sort of getting up on a stage to a big audience, or is it sort of on a one-to-one basis? And I mean, if you're doing it in a big auditorium to give a motivational speech, do you get nervous beforehand? Do you have a routine to go through? Do you imagine everybody naked? What's what's your
No, I don't,
process?
because not I don't want to see everyone naked. Um,
No.
but I do. But yeah, I get nervous. And so for me, affirmations always work. I honestly like some quick physical activity just to get, because our anxiety can be such a benefit to us, and we can use that to really catapult. But the
Mm.
biggest thing is, what I have found, you got to put in the work and be prepared. It doesn't matter whether you're getting on the stage, or you're a surgeon, you have a case, whatever it is. You're going to be nervous no matter what, because there's a lot at stake. When you're talking
Yeah.
to a lot of people, there's a lot at stake, because if you botch it, the word's going to get out. Oh my gosh, that guy was horrible. But at the end of the day, if you put in the work and you've prepared, and then you have to know, you have to have the mindset of, I have a product that is providing value, and there will be someone that gets something out of this that can transition their life or continue to lead a better life. And so that's
Yeah.
that's that's how I position my mind when I'm going out there, is to try and be a servant, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah. Forearmed is forewarned is forearmed. So,
right, exactly.
and it's having a passion for your subject. There's nothing worse than sitting through somebody that doesn't want to be there, and they're trying to get something across that they're not interested in.
Right. You can
Horrendous.
tell. Yeah, you can tell. And
But you get somebody
you know,
passionate about what they're talking about, and you're just captivated.
right. And what's funny is, after I lost my arm, I started and got back to college. I was asked to speak at several functions, and then I was asked to be some, I can't remember what, MC of a parade, and all these different things. And I finally said, I'm going back in the military. I don't want this limelight anymore. And the failure there was that I could have done both. The failure was
Mm,
that no one would ever remember my name, but they remember how I made them feel. And so, looking back on that in hindsight, it was selfish, because there were people that were getting something out of that message, and that I
yeah.
took away. And so I've come back around full circle to say, hey, you know what? There is a message here, and people can get something out of it, and I hope that this can impact them, and jump on the resilience train.
So, how does somebody get hold of you to come and give them a chat?
So my website is richingram.com. That's the best way. There's a contact form, and you can check me out. There's a picture of me running, but you'll see some of the speaking programs that I offer, and so yeah. And I have a blog where I try, and some of the points that we've discussed, I try and outline what some of my tools are for
Yeah.
fighting some of these, if we want to call it, mental health issues, like when the anxiety hits us, and or we're feeling like we're not cut out for this. And so I think those are good resources as well, if
Yeah.
anyone wants to check that out.
Well, I'll put all that down in the description. So, if there's anybody out there that would like to use Rich and get him to come and give you a talk, then I'm sure he won't mind you getting in touch.
Not at all.
Well, Rich, I found that fascinating. And I mean, the resilience. I mean, I've known quite a few guys that have lost limbs. I spent 8 years as a welfare officer in London, and I saw lots of guys coming back injured. So, yeah, that mindset that these guys get into. So there's only two mindsets. One is to give up, and the other is to get in amongst it and get on with it. And yeah, that resilience is key to success, I believe.
That's right. Absolutely.
Well, Rich, thank you so much.
Thank you, Lord Heale. It's been a pleasure and an honor to get to have a conversation with you. Thanks for having me on.
You're welcome. Wow, that is truly inspirational. If you haven't taken any inspiration from that, I don't know what you've been doing. Did you fall asleep? Anyway, that's another terrific guy that we've had a chat with, another military veteran. And if you want to get in touch with him, the details are down in the description. So until next week, when hopefully I'll have another guest on, if you want to come on as a guest, just get in touch. So until then, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.